My husband treasures his car so much that he won't even let me drink water in it. He's afraid that even a splash might leave water stains. But I smelled a strong scent of spicy snacks in his car. I knew he never ate snacks, but I chose to believe him. Until I saw an opened adult product package in his car. Chapter 1. Hu Yixin treats his car as if it were a priceless gem. Once, I had a terrible stomachache while in the car. Instinctively, I took out my stomach medicine to take it. He, who was driving, immediately shouted at me, "Don't eat in the car. What if the powder falls onto the floor mat?" Seeing him so angry, I reluctantly put the medicine away. But my stomach hurt so much that I took out my thermos to drink some hot water. "Don't you understand what I said? No eating or drinking in the car. What if water splashes on the leather seats and leaves stains?" In the end, my stomach hurt so much that Hu Yixin had to pull over, letting me lean against the car window, bend over, and take my medicine with hot water. From that incident, I realized that in Hu Yixin's heart, the car was even more important than his wife. At first, I was quite upset, but my best friend advised me, "Bear with it. At least he loves his car more than other women, right?" Little did I know that my friend's words would become a prophecy. I smelled a strong scent of spicy snacks in Hu Yixin's car. As soon as I got in, I frowned and asked, "Why does it smell so strongly of spicy snacks?" Hu Yixin calmly opened the window to air out the car. "Is the smell that strong? Secretary Lee didn't eat much at lunch and snacked on spicy snacks in the car." Hearing him speak so honestly, without a hint of guilt or discomfort in his voice, I didn't think much of it. That was the first time I heard the name Li Wanlin. And I just found out that Hu Yixin had a new secretary. "When did you change secretaries? What happened to Zhao Zhang?" Hearing my question, Hu Yixin's calm tone showed a trace of impatience. Zhao Zhang was too rigid and inflexible. Seeing that I wanted to ask more, Hu Yixin glanced at me and said, "Now that you've retired from the company, just enjoy your life and don't worry about so much." This company was the result of my and Hu Yixin's hard work. After graduating from college, we started the business together. Later, as the company grew step by step, we naturally got married. Hu Yixin's parents, using the excuse that I should prepare for a family, subtly pressured me to return to being a full-time housewife. Then, an accident happened, causing me to lose the baby. I decided to step back from the company and focus on recuperating. A few days later, I needed the car urgently. My car was at the service center for maintenance. Early in the morning, Hu Yixin was still asleep, and I had urgent matters to attend to. I grabbed his car keys and headed out. But as soon as I opened the car door, I was hit by a foul smell. As an experienced person, I knew immediately what that smell was. Then I saw used adult products on the seat, along with an ID card. The name on it was Li Wanlin. At that moment, I knew my husband had betrayed me and was having an affair. I quietly closed the car door, put the keys back, and contacted a lawyer about divorce proceedings. After handling some personal matters, I went straight to the company to find Hu Yixin. He was surprised to see me suddenly appear. When he heard me mention divorce, he sneered. "Divorce? What can you do without me? You do nothing every day and still get taken care of. Are you just bored of the good life?" Hu Yixin had a meeting to attend and didn't have time to argue with me, so he directly kicked me out of the office. As I left the office, I ran into Li Wanlin. She strutted over in her 7-inch heels, swaying her hips, and mockingly said to me, "You must be Chen Nian. If you know what's good for you, divorce Mr. Hu. I want the position of the boss's wife." Chapter 2. She was certain I was just living off others, so her tone was far from respectful. I looked at her, reached out to take her ID badge, rubbed it a bit, and raised an eyebrow. "You think I'm living off him? Of course. Mr. Hu is young and successful. A woman like you doesn't deserve him. Hurry up and leave. Don't come to the company anymore to anger Mr. Hu." She took the badge from my hand, put it back on, and walked away. I sneered at her back. Everyone in our circle thought I was a wealthy wife living off Hu Yixin. But no one knew that when the company was struggling in its early days, it was my family who secretly invested $3 million to revive his company. Later, as the company got on track, Hu Yixin worked hard. To make his path smoother, I privately contacted my father's friends. They poured orders into the company, allowing him to rise smoothly and become a new industry leader. Now that the company is stable, he wants to kick me to the curb. Hu Yixin seems to have forgotten how humble he was when he begged me for help. It's only been 3 years, and he probably thinks our family has fallen because we moved from a villa to a large apartment and then to a small 3-bedroom. I couldn't help but laugh. My parents just found the house too big and lonely for the two of them, so they moved. In reality, both the villa and the large apartment are still there. When I got home, my mom saw my expression and frowned tightly. "Why are you back alone? Where's Hu Yixin?" "Mom, Dad, I'm getting a divorce." My mom was shocked. "Why are you suddenly talking about divorce? Have you thought it through?" My dad's face darkened. "Is it because we pressured him to have kids?" I took a sip of iced cola and sighed. "He thinks I'm living off him and that I'm beneath him." My parents laughed. "He probably thinks our family is down and out. Since you're not working now, he wants to kick you out after using you. Does he have someone else?" I nodded. "Seems like it." My mom slammed the table. "Cheating during the marriage and still having the nerve to look down on you? Then get a divorce." I was a bit stunned. My mom comforted me. "Don't worry. The Chen family isn't one to cling to people. We don't need that small company. We still have some savings." My dad took me to the study and handed me a stack of documents. When I opened them, I was shocked. "Dad, you have so many assets." My dad was proud. "Of course. We don't take on big tasks without the capability. We help in emergencies, not in poverty. The $3 million before was just a small amount. If I invested $300 million, he'd definitely latch onto us and bleed us dry. Your mom and I hoped he'd appreciate our help and treat you well. But he's a thankless wretch and turned on us. Since that's the case, we won't be polite. Go ahead and do what you need to. We don't need people like him." With my dad's support, I was relieved. Since we had money, I decided to go all out. Chapter 3. I had thought our family had at most 10 or 20 million, but now it seemed it was 10 times that. I nodded and then contacted my dad's old friends. My dad invited them to a meal, announcing his return to the business world and entrusting everything to me. Hearing this, the uncles were delighted, patting me on the back. "Zhao Nian, your dad finally came around. He retired early to enjoy life, but 3 years later, he's back for you." I felt a bit guilty. It's all for me. It doesn't feel right for me to stay idle at home. I'd rather take on some challenges. That's the spirit. Come work at my company first. Uncle Qin, who watched me grow up, extended an olive branch. Work here for a while and see how it goes. Take your time to get the hang of it. Treat it as practice. And I have a project just starting. You can help me with it. No problem. I agreed immediately, and my dad smiled. With that meal, the market dynamics changed. Even though my dad had been out of business, his reputation remained. As his daughter, I naturally had to live up to his name. Uncle Qin pursued me, not just for old times' sake, but for our family's resources. Previously, to support Hu Yixin's small company, my dad used some of his connections for him. That's how Hu Yixin rose so quickly. Now, things were different. Since I decided to take action, there was no place for them. After the meal, I went back to my place and started packing. When everything was ready, Hu Yixin came home. He reeked of alcohol, with a faint scent of women's perfume. No surprise, he had been with Li Wanlin again. Seeing me, Hu Yixin snorted, but when he noticed the luggage beside me, he got angry. "Chen Nian, what are you doing? Divorcing you. Didn't I already tell you?" I handed him the printed divorce agreement. Return the $3 million I invested, and I won't take anything else. Just sign it. After all, someone is waiting for you, I hinted, and Hu Yixin's face turned red with anger. You wait. Fine, see you at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 8 a.m. tomorrow. With that, I dragged my suitcase and left. As I stepped out, I ran into Li Wanlin. She sneered at me, but I ignored her. If she wanted that ingrate, she could have him. I didn't want him anymore. Back at my parents' place, I soon received a friend request from Li Wanlin. She sent me a video of her and Hu Yixin lying in bed, fingers intertwined. In the video, Hu Yixin's bare chest was visible. He had been wearing normal clothes when he got home. These two were really impatient. But it was better this way. Since things were already so dirty, it was best to end it. I sent a message to Li Wanlin. Did he sign the divorce papers? Li Wanlin, are you really that unattractive? You've tricked him into bed, and he still won't give you a title. She got furious. Just as I was about to send an emoji, a red exclamation mark appeared. Couldn't take the heat. I laughed and put my phone away, ready to rest, when the door was knocked on. Chen Nian, come out. You worthless woman, how dare you ask for a divorce? Come out. Chapter 4. I jumped up in surprise. Why was she here? My parents were also disturbed, and they opened the door to let her in. It was Hu Yixin's sister, Hu Yiqian, a parasite who did nothing but eat, drink, and play. Her husband, Wei Shan, was there too, looking like an angry rooster, standing in the living room. Seeing me, Hu Yiqian sneered. Uncle, Aunt, you've really raised a good daughter. I'm impressed. Thanks for the compliment. My daughter is indeed great. My mom replied indifferently, sitting on the sofa with her legs crossed, looking at them. Hu Yiqian was stunned. Previously, they weren't overly polite, but they weren't this cold either. She didn't know what to say, but Wei Shan spoke up. Your family is really ungrateful. After eating off us for 3 years, you want a divorce and $3 million. What are you trying to get a share of the property? I laughed. Property? Hu Yixin is worth more than $30 million now. Taking back my $3 million is wrong? If you think that's too much, I can sue. I'll ask the lawyer if infidelity during marriage entitles me to more. What did you say? You're lying. I shoved the video from Li Wanlin in their faces. Look at this. They've slept together. Shouldn't I divorce him? They hadn't expected this. Thanks to Li Wanlin, the video clearly showed Hu Yixin's face and many explicit scenes, making even Hu Yiqian blush. My mom slammed the table. Your family raised a good son, shameless. Cheating during marriage and bringing women home, and you question my daughter. Is this how you taught your brother, Hu Yiqian? Hu Yiqian didn't expect things to turn around, her face turning red. She lived off Hu Yixin, buying jewelry and flaunting herself at parties. But it was all thanks to our family. Now they had the nerve to question me, but the video left them speechless. I raised an eyebrow. Tell Hu Yixin to sign the divorce papers. If not, I'll release this video. Our family isn't what it used to be. If something happens, we won't lose much, but your family will. Being a new success, they had little strength. Hu Yiqian knew if Hu Yixin fell, they were finished. She got scared, and Wei Shan did too. You can't do that. After 3 years of marriage. I ignored them, saying, you have 3 days. If he doesn't agree to the divorce, I'll contact the media and release the video. Let's see what happens then. They panicked, unable to speak. My mom opened the door and threw them out. She turned to me. If we knew they were so shameless, we should have confronted them earlier. Why wait till now? You have a soft heart. I sighed. It wasn't that I was soft-hearted. I wanted to make it work with Hu Yixin. When we first met, I liked him. He was bright and handsome, with good manners. But I was fooled by his appearance. He used me and then got tired of me. Chapter 5. In the beginning, our marriage was sweet. But later, Hu Yixin saw the luxury of high society and the many successful people around him. The temptations outside were too many, and Hu Yixin changed. He became cold and distant. Our conversations dwindled, and my disappointment grew, culminating today. I didn't say much, just waited patiently. Sure enough, 3 days later, Hu Yixin contacted me, asking to meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau. When I arrived, he showed no remorse, just looking at me. "Chen Nian, you've got guts, convincing my sister to help you. If you want a divorce, I'll grant it. But I'll give you the money and your family better not come near us again." I laughed. "Don't worry, I can say the same to you. After the divorce, don't bother me. Don't make me look down on you." Li Wanlin came with him, sneering. "Just a divorce. Kicking you, an old hag, out will only make his future smoother." I didn't waste words, just handled the paperwork. The cooling off period for divorce was a month. I prayed nothing would happen during that month. If Hu Yixin found out about our family's assets, it would be troublesome. Fortunately, Uncle Qin had invited me to his company, so our family's assets weren't fully revealed. After signing, I immediately left for Uncle Qin's company. Seeing me, Uncle Qin waved. "Zhao Nian, let me introduce you to someone. This is a newly hired graduate from a prestigious university, a renowned investor. Despite his young age, he's already succeeded with several projects. He was profitable for the company even during his internship." I looked at the young man with gold-rimmed glasses and nodded. "Hello, I'm Chen Nian. I'm Su Yu. All right, you youngsters get to know each other. This project, you two will handle it together. Aim to secure the land in the south of the city." I nodded, taking the materials to analyze with Su Yu. I thought it would be complicated, but Su Yu was straightforward. "The city's development southward makes this land challenging. I think the east side is better." Looking at the map, I agreed. Indeed, the commercial circle here presents better investment opportunities. But both plots are owned. Shall we go for it? Su Yu's eyes lit up. "Sure. There's a charity event tomorrow night, and Mr. Liu will be there." Mr. Liu owned those plots. Now he was looking for buyers, but no one was interested. Su Yu and I were confident. Uncle Qin pondered. "How sure are you? What's the investment and return?" 15 billion to secure it, double the return. I'm confident. Uncle Qin raised an eyebrow. "Zhao Nian." He didn't speak, but I said, "Trust me. These plots will be profitable. Consider it my pledge to you. If it fails, my family will bear the loss." Hearing me pledge our family's assets, Uncle Qin agreed. "All right, if you succeed, I'll give you 3%. No problem." The money wasn't important. I wanted to prove myself. Su Yu and I analyzed the pros and cons of the plots. The next day, we attended the charity event. Chapter 6. I never expected to see Hu Yixin there, openly flaunting his relationship with Li Wanlin by wearing matching outfits. When Li Wanlin saw me, she immediately walked over with a sneer. "Well, isn't this the ex-wife? Which rich playboy did you latch onto now?" She looked Su Yu up and down, not recognizing him. Seeing Su Yu's clothes, which were not from any famous brand, she showed disdain. "Chen Nian, you're just an old hag. After leaving our Azun, you're back to your true self, taking 3 million to keep a boy toy?" Su Yu looked her up and down coldly. "You're wearing last season's LH collection from 5 years ago. It's hard to find even on second-hand platforms now." I didn't expect Su Yu to know so much about brands, and I couldn't help but laugh. "Yes, your Azun didn't even give you a title or money to spend. You're worse off than me." At least when I was with Hu Yixin, I bought my own clothes. They weren't top brands, but they were at least the latest season. Li Wanlin's face turned pale. "I have my own money. I don't need him to support me. But you, what right do you have to be here? Still trying to cling on?" Hu Yixin looked displeased as well. Chen Nayan, I told you, don't cling after a breakup. How did you get in here? Get out, or I'll call security. I gave him a disdainful look, while Su Yu took out our invitation. Hu Yixin was stunned. I waved my phone. If you keep yapping, I won't be polite. I haven't deleted the video. Li Wanlin's face turned green and she pulled Hu Yixin away. It seemed she already knew. Hu Yiqian must have talked to her. I smiled. A mistress had no right to bark in front of me. Inside, Hu Yixin seemed at ease, mingling with Li Wanlin. Seeing me, some people looked awkward. But a few familiar old friends came over to me. Then, from the other side, I heard sycophantic voices. Mr. Hu, you've got a beauty. Congratulations. He's been very considerate. If I were Chen Nayan, I'd have stepped down out of shame. When are you two getting married? Such shamelessness in public. I sneered, watching from afar as Li Wanlin, with a face full of joy, looked at me triumphantly, holding Hu Yixin's arm. Good news is coming. Everyone come and drink at our wedding. Certainly. Su Yu glanced at me. Can you tolerate this? No. With that, I walked over. Li Wanlin got even more arrogant. The ex-wife is here. Come, let's introduce you, old hag. Before she could finish, I slapped her to the ground. Hu Yixin yelled at me, Chen Nayan, are you crazy? Yeah, why did you hit her? I sneered. Hu Yixin, you cheated during our marriage. We haven't even finalized the divorce. How dare you show your face in public? The Hu family was nothing but a broken household. Now with a bit of money, you openly keep a mistress, and you talk about it so cleanly. This is the first time I've seen such shamelessness. What did you say? Who's the mistress? Li Wanlin was instantly defensive. You, of course. I looked at Hu Yixin, who couldn't hold back. How dare you accuse me? What about your relationship with this man? Colleagues, Hu Yixin. You shouldn't attend the charity event tonight. Go home! Don't embarrass yourself here. Hu Yixin was furious. Why? It's not your event. You have no right. She doesn't, but I do. Chapter 7. The crowd parted, and Mr. and Mrs. Liu walked out. Mr. Liu looked displeased, staring at Hu Yixin. I organized this charity event, and no one has ever dared to bring a mistress here to cause trouble. Hu Yixin, right? Someone, throw them out. Hu Yixin's face turned green. I chuckled lightly, wondering if he was too arrogant or just pretending not to know. Mr. and Mrs. Liu were renowned for their deep affection for each other. Bringing a mistress to such an event was a slap in their faces. I deliberately caused a scene tonight to show them that stupidity was contagious. Without me backing him, Hu Yixin couldn't even get through the door. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but Mrs. Liu didn't hold back, calling security to throw them out. They became a laughingstock. Those who had been flattering them now stayed silent. Mrs. Liu smiled at me friendly. She looked familiar, and I realized I had seen her before. My mom once had afternoon tea with her. My mom often posted on social media, and she appeared in those posts. But after I got married, my mom occasionally played mahjong with her, and I was too busy taking care of Hu Yixin to notice. In a quiet corner, Mrs. Liu said, I'm friends with your mother from the Pear Blossom Society. Your mother founded it. She always praises you, saying you're smart. I didn't know if Mrs. Liu was praising or criticizing me, but I smiled. Su Yu took the opportunity to discuss our purpose for being there. Mrs. Liu smiled, I knew you'd come. Mr. Liu, talk to them. I'll go greet the guests. Mr. Liu stayed, interested in our ideas. We discussed in the meeting room for over an hour. When we came out, we saw Hu Yixin and Li Wanlin waiting outside. Seeing us, Hu Yixin rushed over to hit me, but I grabbed his wrist and threw him aside. What's wrong with you? Hu Yixin steadied himself, incredulous. Chen Nayan, you did this on purpose. You tricked me. Why? You think you're special? Hu Yixin, you've had smooth sailing these years and forgot how you started. Hu Yixin was furious, and Li Wanlin said softly, Azun, don't argue with her. Once we finish this project, We'll crush her like an ant. I shrugged and laughed. Really? We'll see. I pulled Suyu away, who was confused. Has your ex-husband always been this blind? He thought for a while before finding the right word. I took a deep breath and nodded. Probably. I don't know when he lost his sight. Forget it, let's not talk about him. Although we reached an agreement with Mr. Liu that night, acquiring those two plots quickly wasn't easy. The funds weren't settled yet, and Hu Yixin secured the southern plot for 9 billion, putting all of Hu's funds into it. He successfully won the bid. Seeing this, I frowned tightly. He wasn't afraid of failure at all. Hu Yixin was smug, frequently posting celebration parties on social media. He and Li Wanlin were basking in the glory, and former business partners called me Little Chen. Hu Yixin is too arrogant. We just confirmed to renew the contract, and he wants us to cut the price by 3%. Little Chen, we agreed on the price because of your family's backing. Now they want to kick us out as soon as they succeed. These were suppliers who gave Hu Yixin discounts because of my dad. But now, with already compressed margins, Hu Yixin wanted lower prices, and the suppliers couldn't take it. I said, I've divorced Hu Yixin and am now at Uncle Qin's company. If you're interested, come find me. I spread the word and former business partners came to me. Hu Yixin somehow found out I was at Qin's enterprise and called me. Chen Nian, you did this on purpose. Stealing my clients. I mocked him. Your clients? They were my family's. Now, they're choosing better opportunities. Your big company looks down on them, but others still need to eat. Hu Yixin, maintain good client relations. Don't regret it when all your clients are gone. This was my final advice to him. But he didn't take it seriously, even mocking me, you'll regret this. I didn't know if I would regret it. I just knew in half a month, we'd finalize the divorce, and I couldn't wait to see his downfall. The next half month was smooth. Mr. Liu and I agreed on a 15 billion package for both plots, with Mr. Liu involved in the design. Uncle Qin was clear about this. He offered my dad a commission, but my dad refused. My dad was known for his loyalty in business. He met my mom because of his loyalty, and she was attracted to it. In business, he maintained that character. Now, he willingly gave up such a lucrative deal, and everyone praised him. But Hu Yixin didn't know, thinking I was living off Uncle Qin, mocking me everywhere. Seeing him degrade me so openly, everyone looked at him like he was a fool. Suyu and I worked well together, squeezing Hu Yixin out in half a month. We had ample funds, and my dad subtly helped. Though he didn't intervene directly, everyone knew our family's history, and no one dared cross us. Hu Yixin found himself cornered but held on. I was curious about Li Wanlin's alleged background. What connections did she have? I couldn't see any now. Half a month later, I called Hu Yixin to finalize the divorce. He was 3 hours late, scaring me. I thought he had changed his mind. When he appeared, I sighed in relief. I thought you weren't coming. He gritted his teeth. You want a divorce that badly? I felt a shiver. Don't be ridiculous. You're sleeping with someone else. Am I supposed to wait for New Year's to divorce you? Don't tell me you regret it and still want me? Then let's not divorce. He snorted, in your dreams. Chapter 8. He dragged me to finalize the divorce, and I finally relaxed. Last time, it was just paperwork, and Li Wanlin came with him. This time, actually getting the divorce certificate, she didn't show up. Was she avoiding suspicion? I didn't think much. Half an hour later, I had the divorce certificate, feeling relieved. Hu Yixin glared at me, you'll see. I waved him off and left. Suyu was waiting in the car. Seeing Hu Yixin gritting his teeth in the wind, I felt great. Now it was hunting time. Hu Yixin had invested 9 billion, including bank loans. He probably didn't realize this was a long-term development requiring significant investment. Given Hu's current state, it wasn't feasible. My family used to back him and fill gaps. So he thought he was capable. But now, with our separation, he had no funding and was rejected by the bank. He was stunned, begging everywhere, desperate. When I heard the news, I laughed. Why doesn't he ask Li Wanlin for help? Suyu looked gossipy, you don't know? Lee Wanlin is a bankrupt second generation, targeting wealthy men. She misjudged this time. She took $5 million from Hu Yixin, planning to flee, but he caught her. They fought and called the police. Many in their company are resigning. Some regret not joining you. I laughed. He brought this on himself. Forget them. Let's focus on our work. Have you finished the proposal? Su Yu sighed. You're a capitalist. I've traveled twice this week and made 3 proposals. Hard work pays off. I'll give you a raise. Uncle Qin said you're a rare business talent. Finish the proposal and let's have a good meal. My treat. He finally brightened up. Despite his serious look, he was young at heart. We worked well together. 3 months later, we announced the start of a high-end residential project. Seeing my name among the shareholders, Hu Yixin rushed over. He was heavily in debt, and he broke through the crowd to charge at me. Chen Nian, you tricked me. Your family is rich, and you tricked me into divorcing. You're heartless. I pushed him away, dusting off my clothes. What did I trick you out of? Your love, your money, or an investment? Wasn't it you who didn't want kids and fooled around with a fake heiress? Hu Yixin, don't think you're so important that I'd scheme against you. He turned pale and Su Yu laughed. Little Chen, let's go for the ribbon cutting. I'll handle this. Su Yu led me to the ribbon cutting while he kept Hu Yixin away. Hu Yixin glared at him. Don't think I don't know. You're after her money. I've tried that. It doesn't work. I was too far to hear what Su Yu said, but I saw him gesture, and Hu Yixin turned pale, rushing away. After the ribbon cutting, I asked, what did you say to him? Su Yu shrugged. I showed him the video and posted it online. I told him to handle the media. I was surprised. You're ruthless. Of course. Mr. Qin said unreliable men would come back once you succeed. This solves it once and for all. Make him socially dead, and he won't dare return. I sighed deeply. Su Yu looked at me. Do you know what Hu Yixin said about you? He said if not for your money, he wouldn't have been with you. Are you just a rich fool? I knocked his head. Didn't you work enough overtime last night? Pack up and expand to the neighboring city. I'll give you a 30% raise. Su Yu groaned. You're a ruthless capitalist. I laughed. I wasn't a saint. I genuinely liked Hu Yixin initially. It was my first love, and I didn't know the harshness of the world. Now, I've learned my lesson. Making money is wiser. There are many compatible men, but I won't be foolish again. Hu Yixin approached me a few more times, but I had people handle him. He realized the gap between us and felt ashamed. I brought Lee Wanlin over, letting them fight each other while I enjoyed peace. The end.